introducing Sean Hogan, the Senior Director of Men's Hockey Athlete Relations, and Jason Hasdu, the Director of Communications. So the other coaches we have here, Tommy Hill from St. Lawrence University, and Corey Schneider from Clarkson. He's going to present about 25 minutes or so. If you have any questions, ask them. Feel free, and everything by email and stuff as well. So this is for you guys.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Like you said, my name is Sean Hogan. I'm the Senior Director of Athlete Relations at College Hockey Inc. And we do a variety of things at College Hockey Inc. Sometimes there's a misperception as to what we do. One of the things that we do is we partner with NCAA Division I athletic departments, and we work with those athletic departments to try to create more NCAA Division I hockey teams. And that outreach project is working, and that's great news for young players. I think I picked out a player here. If there's more Division I hockey teams, why is it good news for you guys as players? You have a guess? If there's more teams, yeah, you two guys, yeah? Any idea why it would be
more
good?
Opportunities?
Yeah, for sure, man. More Division I teams means more opportunities, and more opportunity for you to choose the NCAA Division I development. So that's one of the things that we do. And I say choose because everybody in here, you are aware that players that play in the OHL are not eligible for college hockey. Is everybody aware of that? So in spite of all the rumors that you're hearing, you've seen on Twitter that CHL players will become eligible, and you're seeing some pretty high-level media people making those claims. There is, at this time, no negotiations between the CHL and the NCAA. And in fact, that's not even really how it would work. The process would be the coaches of the NCAA would get together, they do every year in Naples, Florida, and they would have a discussion, and they decided that they wanted to make Division I players eligible. They could, and they would approach the NCAA to approve that legislation, which they probably would if it came to that vote. But that's a years-long process, right? And there's not really a negotiation with the CHL in that. It's just how these players can be eligible. But everything going forward is status quo. So if you're going to ask me, are CHL players going to be eligible next year? I would say highly unlikely. Are they going to be eligible in 5 years? I would say maybe 50-50. 10 years? I would say they probably will be eligible at that point. But now, as young players, 16-year-olds, you're going to have to make a choice one way or the other, and then forfeit the eligibility for the NCAA should you decide to go with the OHL. Just so we're clear, there's no murkiness as to what's going on. So that's one of the things that we do, is we partner with Division I athletic departments. We also do a lot of research at College Hockey. What I mean by research is today you guys will be able to leave this presentation with a really good idea of what it looks like for a player specifically from Ottawa and Ontario on the road to NCAA Division I, where they play at 16, 17, 18, 19 years old, the age of commitment, what junior leagues they play in. So you have a really good idea of what your road to Division I looks like. But really at our core, like I said, what College Hockey Inc. is we're an education organization. And we're here to educate a young aspiring player just like you guys, a 16, 17-year-old hockey player who has a choice to the highest levels in the world. And I always use football for example because hockey's so unique to other sports. Football players that want to play in the NFL, their road to the NFL is pretty clear cut. They play high school football, they go to their university, hopefully they're drafted from their university, and they have an opportunity in the NFL. Hockey players are one of the few sports where you have a choice on what you want to do on your road to the highest level. So we're here to educate you about the NCAA choice and make sure you have a full idea of what that looks like. We're a small organization. There's only 4 of us that do this job. Mike Sneed's my boss. He's in Minnesota. Again, my name's Sean Hogan. I'm from East Lansing, Michigan. Sadie Lundquist is our first director of women's hockey. We just started working with women's teams. So if you have sisters that play hockey or nieces or friends that play women's hockey, we're more than happy to start educating women's hockey teams on the process. And then Jason Hasdu is our first Canadian employee. He's from Regina, Saskatchewan. He lives in Shawnee, Kansas now. So he's moved down southwest. Southish. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let me touch on this really quick. So today, for the next 25 minutes or so, we'll talk about college hockey and the NHL and what that relationship looks like today. We'll educate you about what it looks like. And like I said, 16, 17, 18, 19 years old. Where do players play? When do commitments happen? What do scholarships look like? Talking about the benefits of playing college hockey. Why should you choose NCAA hockey on your road to the highest level in the world? And then what makes us unique, it makes us special compared to most organizations out there, especially in the world of youth hockey and youth sports, is we're 100% free 100% of the time. We're funded by the NHL. We're not an agency. We're not an advisor service. I'm not here to sell you on me representing your players or anything like that. I'm never trying to sell you an upgraded package, or recruited or anything. We're a free organization to educate you, coaches, agents, and advisors who use our services every day about the NCAA process. So if you have questions in the spring, if you're drafted in the O and you want to know what can I do and what can I not do, reach out to me. I'll walk you through the process for free. But I do like to show a video in here in these sessions, short video, but it kind of gives you an idea of what we're trying to accomplish here today.
I'm Chris Carter and I play college hockey.
I'm Cole Caulfield and I play college hockey.
I'm Jacob Slavin and I play college hockey. I'm Jeremy Swayman and I play college hockey. I'm Jack Eichel. I play college hockey.
I'm Adam Cox and I play college hockey.
I'm Zach Hyman and I played college hockey.
I'm Tage Thompson and I play college hockey.
I'm Zach Whitecloud and I play college hockey.
I'm Jake Ottinger and I play college hockey.
I'm Chris Tatum and I play college hockey. I'm Matt Boley and I play college hockey.
I'm Andrews Lee and I play college hockey.
I'm Devon Taves and I play college hockey.
I'm Brady Kachuk and I play college hockey.
I'm Keandre Miller and I play college hockey. I am Will Power and I play college hockey.
I'm Jake Enfield and I play college hockey.
I'm Johnny Gaudreau and I play college hockey.
I'm Brock Nelson. I play college hockey. I'm Charlie McAvoy and I play college hockey.
I'm Kevin Crummer and I play college hockey.
All right. Before we get too far ahead into the presentation, I do think it's important to understand that there's different levels of college hockey in the U.S. The highest being NCAA Division I, commonly referred to as Div 1, especially in Canada. There's 64 teams right now, and each team has 18 scholarships. We'll talk more about scholarships and what they look like a little later in the presentation, but now know 64 teams, 18 scholarships. There's a level called Division 3, commonly referred to as Div 3. About 100 schools participate in the Division 3 level. The big difference between Division 1 and Division 3, besides the obvious level of play, is Division 1 is the only level that can offer you a scholarship based on your athletic ability. So Division 1 coaches, like these two guys, can come to you and offer you a scholarship for being a great hockey player. Division 3 schools cannot do that. They can offer you scholarships based on academics, merit-based aid, financial aid based on family income. A variety of different scholarships can be put together in Division 3 to make that education affordable. It just cannot be based on your ability as a hockey player. The ACHA, sometimes referred to as club hockey, operates under the same rules as NCAA Division 3. There's about 400 to 500 schools that have different club teams. But everything we talk about today, we've got NCAA Division 1, the highest level of college hockey, the level that can offer you a scholarship based on being an outstanding hockey player. And the players that play there have realistic goals and maybe a realistic opportunity of one day playing in the NHL. Let's talk a little bit about the NHL. More players than ever before, the last 2 years, chose college hockey as their road to the NHL. And it's roughly a third of the NHL, so about 33%. 20 years ago, that number was like 8 or 9% of the NHL chose college hockey. Go back far enough, 60s and 70s, 1960s, 1970s, there was only one former player in the NHL that played college hockey. That was Red Berenson. You guys ever heard of Red Berenson, the players? So Red Berenson went on to coach University of Michigan, had a Hall of Fame career as a coach, a Hall of Fame player. But it's gone from one player in the NHL to 1 in 3 players in the NHL chose college hockey. And that number continues to grow, because right now 35% of rookies in the NHL chose college hockey. Now this number here might look you're like, oh, 20%, that's not very high. But 20% of Canadians in the NHL chose college hockey, and it wasn't that long ago. That was basically 0% of Canadians chose college hockey. And now it's 20%. There's players like Owen Powers and Cal McCarr, and Macklin Celebrini coming up through college hockey right now. So it's high-end Canadians are now choosing college hockey. Asked quite a bit, is there an import rule in college hockey? Is there a max number of Canadians that are allowed to play? Is there a max number of Europeans? There is not. There's no, your nationality doesn't matter at all in college hockey. In fact, more Europeans are playing college hockey than ever before. But roughly 30% of NCAA Division I men's hockey players are Canadian. So this comes up quite a bit as well. It's always an agent or an advisor. They'll say to me, well, Sean, the guys that go to the NHL from college, they only play 1 year of college hockey and then they go to the NHL. Have you ever heard the term one and done before? It's a basketball term mostly, but there's an idea out there that guys that go to the NHL don't spend much time in college hockey. That didn't sound right to us, so Jason researched it. We found that 68% of NCAA guys in the NHL played at least 3 years of college hockey. Why that's important is because of when you play college hockey. You play college hockey at 21, 22, and 23 years old. That's what 68% of NCAA players in the NHL did. They were college hockey players at 21 years old. They were college hockey players at 22, earning their degree. Roughly 20% of the NHL year over year is undrafted, and always over half of the undrafted players in the NHL are college hockey players. And the reason is what I just said. You're an NHL prospect for long. You're an NHL prospect at 21 years old while you're in the league. One thing we don't talk about enough for sure is because there's an education component to NCAA hockey, but we speak very specifically to a specific audience about the hockey portion of it, right? How do you get to the NHL? Well, there's an education portion of it as well. 93% of our athletes will earn their degree. To put that in perspective, it's always in the top 5 for NCAA graduation rates, and oftentimes it's the #1 graduation rate in all of the NCAA. Right now, I think it's the #2 graduation rate. If you think about all the sports, football, baseball, basketball, volleyball, gymnastics, hockey is always right up there in terms of graduation. So what is it about college hockey that prepares you for the NHL? There's a ton of reasons for this. I'm just going to go through it here briefly. But one of the reasons, and the coaches will talk about this, is the structure of the work week. You practice every day in college hockey, so tons of time for skill development. That's where you get better. Playing 80 games doesn't necessarily make you better. Practice and skill development is what makes you better. So you practice every day, Monday through Thursday. Play your games on Friday and Saturday nights. But again, I touched on it earlier. The thing to keep in mind about college hockey is it's not an under 20 junior league. You're practicing and playing against 24 and 25-year-olds. Preparing yourself to play against grown men at that next level. You'll have an opportunity to work with educated and professional strength and conditioning coaches. Has anybody here been to a Division I campus before, seen a workout facility or anything like that? What school? St. Lawrence? All St. Lawrence?
Clarkson.
Oh, anywhere else?
Clarkson.
You guys are doing your jobs, man. Good work. But many of these schools, many of these campuses have world-class training facilities, so educated and professional strength and conditioning coaches in world-class facilities with guys whose job really is to work with you, to make you the most elite athlete you're capable of becoming, and to work with you on injury prevention. Just Johnny Gaudreau talking about not only the importance of what he did on the ice, but what he did off the ice too, preparing yourself for that next level. So we all know the stories of high-end NCAA coaches moving on to the NHL. Hackstall is a good example. Montgomery is a good example. Derek Lalonde with Red Wings is another example. But what we're seeing now is NCAA, the coaching hires are guys with NHL experience. So you're going to work with coaches that have been at the highest levels, help you get to the highest levels. But to me, one of the most important and often overlooked portions of this, and I've added this to this presentation, is there's a small window of your life. And some of you might be lucky enough to play college hockey from 18 to 22, but most guys' college hockey window is 20 to 24. And in that window, you have an opportunity to combine an outstanding athletic opportunity, obviously, but a world-class educational opportunity. And then all the social development that you go through at those ages as a young person, to me, and this is my opinion, one of the best places to do that is on campus at a world-class university. So the reason why we exist and the reason why we were created many years ago is, like I said, as of right now, despite all the rumors that we're hearing, players that participate in the CHL, so the WHL, the QMJHL, the OHL, those players are not eligible for NCAA hockey. And in the spring, when you guys are drafted or you're invited to training camp or a team calls you up and they want you to practice with them, and you want to know what you can and can't do, I'm going to go through this really, I do an entire presentation on this topic alone, so I'm going to jam it all into about 90 seconds. But know that if you have questions about this, we're a free organization. If you have questions about anything, can I sign this, can I not sign this, reach out to me. There's some things to keep in mind, is you cannot sign a contract of any kind. Signing the contract, even if you don't want to play in games, you just want to sign the contract, put it on TikTok, let everybody know that you're going to the, you've been drafted. But if you sign that contract, you're going to jeopardize your NCAA eligibility. You cannot play in any games. Playoff games, exhibition games, scrimmage games, any games against outside competition. You cannot accept any gifts. So if you're drafted and they send you a jersey, you can keep the jersey if you pay for it. That's becoming so commonplace now. Most OHL teams know to send you an invoice. But just know if you keep it, just pay for that. Now where everybody gets confused and where I get the most phone calls in the spring, is there's a rule called the 48-hour rule. Now you can practice with an OHL team as often and for as long as you like. You can go to training camp for as often and as long as you like, provided you don't sign a contract, you don't play any games, and that you pay for your own way to be there. So if you pay for hotel, transportation, and lodging, you can go to training camp for as long as you like. Now if you want that team to pay for you, that team can do so one time for a 48-hour period. That 48 hours starts when you arrive at the facility. Now everybody will always ask, he might not ask you now, but you're probably thinking in your head, well, why is it 48 hours? That sounds arbitrary. The reason why it's 48 hours is once you become old enough to be recruited in the NCAA, and we'll talk about those ages here in a minute. Official visits. What are called official visits in the NCAA. So that's when you go visit a school like Clarkson or St. Lawrence, and they pay for you to be there. An official visit in the NCAA is 48 hours long. So that's why it's 48 hours in the OHL. The rule is the same rule. So hopefully that makes sense. And if it doesn't, feel free to ask questions, reach out to me. Now I work with families every single day, right? And not every family chooses the NCAA. So some will choose, obviously, the OHL. But it's always under the assumption that it's, well, then we'll just get my son to the NHL faster. And just a reminder, I know I showed this, more players than ever before have now chosen NCAA hockey on their road to the NHL. And that number continues to grow. So let's talk a little bit about getting to the NHL and what that looks like. There's been over 100 years of NHL hockey. How many players have played in the NHL in that time? How many played 1,000 games? How many have only played one game in the NHL? And then what percentage of everybody that we watch on TSN, on Sportsnet, on CBC, and on back home on ESPN, what percentage of those guys, their entire NHL career happens in one hockey season? So approximately 7,300 players have played the NHL all time. Only 389 have played 1,000 games. More players have played just one game in the NHL. And then 20%, roughly 20%, of everybody that ever plays in the NHL, their entire career of NHL is going to be one hockey season. Maybe it's one game, maybe it's all 82 games, but their NHL career was 3, 4, or 5 months of their lives. They had to go on and do something else besides being known as NHL hockey players. So I'm not here to douse your dreams, right? You guys know it's hard to get the NHL. It's extremely difficult to have a career in the NHL. But somebody has to make it, right? Today, roughly 700 guys woke up as NHL hockey players, right? So what does that look like for a young player from Ottawa, a young player from Ontario, who wants to go to the NCAA, wants to play in the NHL? What does that look like from where you're seated today? So I guess in your heads again, take a guess on what the average age of commitment is. What a commitment is when one of these coaches comes to you and says, I want you to play for my college hockey team, here's my scholarship offer. That's a verbal commitment. At what age do you think that happens? And what's the age when you first put on that college hockey jersey? How old are you going to be the first time that you dress for an NCAA? So we study this stuff, like I said earlier on. We took a look at 186 NCAA Division I players from Ontario. And to put that in perspective for you guys, there's more players from Ontario playing college hockey than every other province and every other state, for the exception of Minnesota. So tons of players from Ontario choose college hockey as their development path. And I took a look at every single one of them, right? And where they played at 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 years old. And here were our findings. The average commitment age is almost 19 years old. And that's going to take place while you're playing college-eligible junior hockey. And for Ontario players, it's the OJHL or the CCHL, or maybe it's out west in the DCHL typically. All right. Everybody wants to compare the OHL to college hockey. The OHL is a draft-based league for under 20 hockey players. right? They draft players who are 16 years old. The college hockey process doesn't start until much longer, and your commitment is likely not going to happen until you're 18 or 19 years old. In fact, 86% of the players in Ontario didn't earn their commitment until they were playing junior hockey. And only 14% made their commitments while they were playing minor hockey. So very few players during their OHL draft year will be having meaningful conversations with NCAA coaches. It's just a different timeline. And here's where players are playing at 17. So I know there's a lot of anxiety at this age. Everybody feels like if they're not playing high-end junior hockey at 17, they're somehow behind the eight ball. But if you look here, at the age of 17, here's where all those players were playing on their road to NCAA Division I. So a variety of different places at the age of 17 are producing Division I hockey players. And here's where they were playing when they earned their commitments. So this is when the coach came to them and said, I want you to play for my college hockey team. Here's all the different places they were playing. You see the OJHL and DCHL leading the way, as well as the CCHL. So to me, this might be the most important slide in this presentation. So it just outlines really if you're going to compare the OHL to NCAA. It's not really apples to apples, like I said. You're likely not going to have a conversation with a Division I coach until you're 17, 18, or 19 years old, right? Probably not going to play college hockey until you're 20, 21, 22, 23 years old during those 4 years. Bring you right to that average NHL rookie age of 23. And I hear all the time that the NHL is getting younger and younger. The NHL is getting younger and younger for one guy in the world, right? We all know who he is, right? For one guy in the world who can play in the NHL as a teenager, maybe two guys, right? Everybody else doesn't get to the NHL until they're 23 or 24 years old. And in fact, there was more 24-year-old NHL rookies last year than there were 22-year-old NHL rookies. And in fact, just tonight, well, last year there was two guys that made their NHL debut at 28, and tonight, a college hockey player, Mason, what is that?
Mason Morelli.
Mason Morelli made his NHL debut. He was 28 years old. He scored a goal. So to me, one of the biggest benefits of choosing NCAA hockey is the longer development path, right? You're an NHL prospect for longer while you're earning your degree. What you do at 18, 19, and 20 is just so much more important on the college hockey development path than what you do at 15 and 16, if that makes sense.
Sean, hold up one sec. And that bottom number is 25 for goalies, the average age of goalies.
Yeah, for goalies, it's even a longer timeline. So if there's a goalie in the audience, it's almost 20 years old for commitment, and the NHL rookie goaltender is almost 25 years old. So there are some recruiting rules you need to be made aware of. There's two dates that are important. Is everybody here in 10th grade for the most part? Anybody in 9th grade? No? Oh, yeah. So the first date is January 1st of grade 10. So if you guys are in 10th grade, you've only now just become eligible to talk to Division I coaches. So January 1st of grade 10 is the earliest these guys can reach out to you and talk to you about playing for their hockey team. The earliest you can get a verbal commitment, when a coach comes to you and says, I want you to play for my school, is August 1st before grade 11. Now I just showed you, what's important about those dates is that's not when things happen. They'll happen for some players, but for most players, that's not when things happen on NCAA that. I just showed you here, it's way more likely to happen closer to 19, but the earliest they're allowed to happen is January 1st of grade 10 and August 1st of grade 11. So there is an academic component here you need to be made aware of. If you're going to a traditional brick and mortar school, you're probably taking your necessary courses. If you're doing something online, which is becoming more popular, just make sure you check in with your guidance counselor that you're taking the necessary courses. There's some new legislation on the SAT and the ACT. They are no longer required for initial acceptance into the NCAA. Now you're probably thinking, you're like awesome. I would still advise that you take those tests for two reasons. One, there's academic scholarship money tied to those tests, should you test well. And then two, there might be some schools still left that say, hey, if you want to come to our school, you have to take that test. It's not required to be eligible, but still could be necessary. Now there is something that you must do. This is important. There's an agency called the NCAA Eligibility Center, and this is the website right here, eligibilitycenter.org. Every Canadian interested in NCAA hockey, or any NCAA sport, must register there. And they do two things. They certify your academics, make sure you qualify academically, and then two, will certify what's called your amateurism status, like if you sign in the OHL, for example. So eligibilitycenter.org, now that is different than, we get asked this quite a bit, there's an organization out there called NCSA that probably sends you guys tons of emails. You do not need to sign up with NCSA, you don't need to pay anybody, any organization to get you recruited or anything like that. The only thing you must do with the NCAA guys is register at the eligibility center. So let's talk a little bit about scholarships here as we start to wrap up. Like I said, 64 men's Division I hockey teams. Each hockey team has 18 hockey scholarships. They're called equivalency scholarships. So that means they can offer you, these coaches here, 50% for hockey, 75% for hockey, 25% for hockey, as long as they all add up to 18 100% full ride scholarships. Now the uniqueness of that and the advantage of that is you can combine scholarships. That's called stacking. So if you've done really well academically, you can get academic money, hockey scholarship money, financial aid money based on family income, which even if you have a very high family income, tons of people qualify for financial aid. So you can combine all those different avenues on a scholarship to get as close to 100% as possible. Now I'll hear sometimes from usually a dad who'll say to me, I don't think moms say this about their kids very much, but a dad will say, my son is terrible in school. He doesn't want to go to school. His grades are terrible. I still tell those families, you should still look really hard at the NCAA. Because being a Division I athlete is a big deal. And what I mean by that is, it's in the best interest of the coach, the best interest of the athletic director, the best interest of the president of the university, that student athletes do well academically. So you're going to be treated much different than a normal student on campus. So even if you're just an okay student, you're going to get everything that you need not only to achieve your athletic goals, but your academic goals as well. And that's reflective in our graduation rate at 93%. That's not because everybody that comes and plays college hockey is going to medical school or going into the sciences, right? It's because they're treated much different. They have an opportunity provided to them that a normal student on campus doesn't receive. So you hear this quite a bit. Everybody's kind of in a rush, right? Everybody feels that they're in a rush to get to the next level. And whatever that next thing is, we're not so much worried about where we're at now, we're worried about the next thing and the next thing after that. So I hear quite a bit, I want to get to the next level. I was real fortunate years back, I was on staff at Western Michigan. The head coach at the time was Jeff Blashill. Jeff went on to coach, be the head coach of the Red Wings, and now he's an assistant in Tampa Bay. But those guys were just like you guys. They're just bigger, older, and faster, and 22 years old. But they would come in the room, and they'd be like, Coach, what do I need to do to get to the NHL? I thought Blash had great advice. He'd say, hold on. You can't focus on your next job until you do a great job where you're at. So there is no magic pill, guys. There's no magic summer showcase you have to sign up for in the States. There's no team in the U.S. or any team anywhere that's going to magically provide you a scholarship of some kind. It comes down to, like today, for example, we watched 3 hockey games. These guys watched intently every single minute of every one of them. You're going to have to be one of the better players on the ice. If you're one of the better players on the ice, you have to do the right things off the ice. And if you're doing that, you're going to get an opportunity at the next level, right? And for you guys, for guys interested in college hockey, the next level from 16s is not college hockey, all right? It's going to be junior hockey of some kind. So you need to play well enough to get recognized by a college-eligible junior hockey league to get into that league, because for most of you, that's where the process will begin for college hockey. But whatever that next level is, the same thing holds true there too, right? You got to be one of the better players on the ice, do the right things off the ice. It's going to hold true all the way to the NHL. So as we wrap up here, Jason does a lot of interviews with NCAA Division I players in the NHL, and the theme always comes back the same. Like Cal McCarr, for example, will say it all the time. The most fun he had playing hockey was when he played college hockey. Now I know stats that tell you that it's 90% fun or 75% fun, or if you do this, it'll be more fun. But it certainly is a lot of fun to walk into class on Monday mornings and everybody's whispering about you. That's so-and-so from the hockey team. He scored 2 goals this weekend. He's going to the NHL. In any of these places, it is arguable, especially where I live, that college athletics is a bigger deal than professional athletics. People are ultra passionate about where they went to school. They're passionate about their teams. They're passionate about their football, baseball, basketball, and hockey, much more so than they are of their professional. So it certainly makes it a ton of fun to play in that environment. There's no trades in college hockey. You'll play with the same guys for 3 or 4 years. Coach can't trade a guy and send him someplace else. My best friends, the guys I played college hockey with, they're the ones that texted me when my kids were born. They're the ones that stood up next to me when I got married. It was those relationships I built in college. It certainly made it a lot of fun over that time. So as we wrap up here, more players than ever before in the NHL chose college hockey. That number continues to grow. 93% of Division I men's hockey players will earn their degree. Well, this might be the most important thing. Just know when things happen. Comparing the NCAA to the OHL is not apples to apples. The OHL is junior hockey that drafts 16-year-old players that kind of tell you where to go, right? And you're out of the league by 19 or 20. College hockey starts after that for almost all players. You play college hockey at 20, 21, 22, 23 years old. Hopefully bringing you to that average NHL rookie age with a degree in hand, ready for the next level. Everything we do is free at College Hockey Inc. That's our website. Everybody who signed up for this will receive information from me tomorrow. So if you do have questions or you're not comfortable asking in this environment, we're a free resource. You can ask anytime. So I'll hand it over to Jason. We'll have a quick Q&A with the coaches here, and feel free to ask any questions. I appreciate your time today. Thanks, guys.
Coaches to take the stage here, and we do appreciate their time. Not only are they out on the recruiting road, they're in the home stretch of their regular seasons these last 2 weeks, so their time is pretty valuable. We appreciate you guys being here and doing this for us. Hopefully you brought good questions for them. I do have a free hat for anyone who asks the first question, and it cannot be, can I have that hat? It's gonna be a real question. Anyone have questions for our coaches?
I actually have one.
All right.
So if the average age is 17 to commit, but they don't play till 19, what is the expectation of them to do for those 2 years?
Okay, I can answer that. So the average commitment age is actually almost 19 years old. And they usually won't typically play until they're 20 years old. So you mean, what do they do during school, for school?
Yeah,
Okay.
so they graduate at 17, what
So
are they
you-
doing for those 2 years?
Yeah, so you are allowed to take courses while you play junior hockey. There's some rules surrounding that. One of them being you cannot enroll full-time at a university. So you can take part-time university classes. If you enroll full-time, your athletic clock begins, and you have 5 years to play 4 years. So you're allowed to take classes, and most guys do, while they're playing junior hockey. And full-time status is dictated by the school in which you enroll. And I'll let Tommy touch on it. They have tons of players that have done just that, right, Tommy?
Yeah.
What's the school that was an online school that guys?
Yeah, I know a lot of our Canadian guys have used Athabasca University as an online school. It technically can't be a fully online school, which Athabasca just gets past that by the skin of their teeth, I would say, but that's one that's been used.
So you are allowed to take courses, just make sure you're not enrolled full-time. Good question.
More questions? Yeah.
I just have a quick question. When you guys are scouting and recruiting, do you mostly look at, for Ontario, is it junior A, triple A, junior B? Is there one that you kind of look at more?
It really depends in Ontario. I mean, both of us are within 90 minutes of the greater Ottawa area, so being close by, we spend a lot of time up here. And we'll watch AAA, we'll watch, the CCHL, the OJHL, and some of the other AAA leagues around Ontario. And pretty much, anytime we get a call from a trusted source too, we'll go out and watch that. And really, if you're good enough, we're going to find it, especially in this age, the way that information travels.
And what are you looking to identify when you're at games like this today?
Yeah, you're typically looking at, for us, it's how competitive is the player. Our number one criteria is character first and foremost. Like Sean said, there's not trades in college hockey, so we want to make sure we have the right kids on the bus, if you will. And then obviously your hockey attributes. It's got to be some combination of skating, skill, hockey sense, all those things, which are all very important, but it's got to be, a mix that makes you stand out, I would say.
And what about for goalies? I know goalie development is a little later, but what do you look for in goalies?
Yeah, we were fortunate this past year, a rule was passed where we could hire an additional assistant. I only bring that up because a lot of schools then brought on a goalie coach if they hadn't already. So we were fortunate to be able to do that. So now we have a goalie coach, but I would say hockey sense is a huge one. Obviously their athleticism, their ability to skate, and then the other attributes in terms of competing character are obviously huge as well. So I'm self-admittedly not a goalie guy, so when I'm looking, can they move around in the net really well? Do they compete to make every save? And do they do it in a composed fashion? Those kind of things that I would say are big for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess kind of tying on to Crystal's question is this is the first year where typically we'd have U18 AAA, 15U, and 16U players playing, whereas now it's 15U as a standalone, U16 AAA, and U18 AAA. Is if you're a drafted player, or if you're not a drafted player, what, I guess, dare I say, advise is more attractive to you as college hockey coaches, U18 AAA, or let's say tier 3 junior B? It's,
I guess I'm
because this is a
No,
decision,
I think-
we're gonna have to make that
There's-
call.
I'm laughing a little bit because it's not a one size fits all. I
Yeah.
always tell them like, if you have a great U18 AAA coach, you're getting development, you're getting good coaching, all those things, that would be better than going to a tier 3 junior league that maybe that doesn't happen. Vice versa could be the same thing. So I don't like to say, go do this. I think it's, even within junior leagues, a lot of it's dependent on, you know, what's their situation with skills? How often do they practice? There's some junior leagues that don't practice every day. So like, all of those things go into it. What's their development process? I think those are all questions you should be asking whatever team is reaching out to you to try to get you to come play.
Yeah, it's all about where there's opportunity, where you trust the coach, where there's opportunity for development, where there's a track record of developing players and moving them on. I think those are things to look for. You know, Sean mentioned it, everybody's always in a rush to get to that next level, that next league. You hear a lot of stories about players who maybe made that jump too early. But you don't hear many stories about a player that, you know, waited another year to go. Because that usually works out. But you hear a lot of stories about players that made that jump too early and, you know, now they're on the fourth line and they're not happy there and they're not enjoying playing the game anymore. And so there's never any rush on that development path to make that jump.
In terms of expense, if you're not one of the kids that have access to one of those 18 scholarships, what do you spend per year?
Is there anybody on your team that's not getting any scholarships?
At Clarkson, we don't have any player on our team that pays full tuition. So we're able to, with those 18 scholarships, players are able to get academic money. And so all of a sudden, the player that, you know, gets 25% of their scholarship taken care of academically, they only count as 0.75 athletically. So they don't count as a full scholarship. So now that gives us 25% to use elsewhere. And so we have a 25-person roster right now, and every player on our team receives some sort of combination of academic and athletic aid to help ease the cost there. The majority of our players do not pay anything at all. In fact, they end up receiving some money back.
Yeah, I'd say we're a little bit similar. We do have a couple guys. We have a slightly bigger roster just with how our roster was made up. And we have some guys that pay out of pocket. I would say every kid on our team has some sort of aid though, whether that be financial aid, merit aid in the mix with that. So, but I mean, it's expensive. Our head coach always jokes with me, I have a 4 and a 7-year-old that college is going to cost $500,000 US by the time I get to that age, because at our school right now, if you were to pay, not get any aid at all, it's $82,000 US per year. And I totally get it. And like you said, there's a lot of aid opportunities, but then you're also looking at any of the higher end private institutions in the States, they're that or more. So.
One thing to keep in mind, sorry, yeah. So when he says at 83,000, you go to a website and you look at like St. Lawrence's website, right? It'll say full cost tuition, $80,000. Very few people on that campus are paying that full amount. You have to go to the financial aid office and look at the percentage of students receiving financial aid. Almost every school in the U.S., the number is like 87 or 88%. Because nobody can pay $85,000 a year to go to school, right? So almost everybody on campus is receiving financial aid based on family income. They're receiving academic money, merit-based aid to make those educations affordable, because that's an unrealistic number for people. So don't get sticker shock because that's just the face cost of it. Look at how many people are receiving financial aid. The number is very high. So.
Now, is that the same between private college and state school?
Well, state schools are typically just less expensive, but there's in-state and out-of-state tuition. We don't have to get all into the weeds there. But yes, it is the same. Like financial aid offices are huge at schools. It's a big part of their admission procedures. So just take a look at those numbers and then just ask them the question of what we're talking about. You might be surprised at how little you actually get.
Any more questions? For either of you, maybe can you just give them an idea of the typical day or week on campus for one of these student athletes?
Yeah, so for us at Clarkson, a typical day and week for us in season, we'll practice Monday through Thursday, play games Friday, Saturday. Sunday's typically an off day for us. That Monday through Thursday, there's a lot of development opportunity. You saw some of the NHL guys refer to that in some of their interviews and some of their quotes. With the number of practices you have during the season, there's a ton of time for development within those practices. But also, it's a little different than, middle school or high school. You're not in class from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. and then going to the rink. You have breaks during the day. And during those breaks, sometimes the players are doing schoolwork. Sometimes they're at the rink, they're doing video, they're getting on the ice with myself or another coaching staff member, working on specific skills. They're making use of the shooting room that we have in our rink, or they're with our strength coach in the weight room working on something extra. So there's a lot of opportunity for additional development in there, kind of in between your classes, depending on how your class schedule works out. We'll typically practice in the afternoon, and then post-practice, there's time for players for recovery, and again, some of those additional things, if maybe they were busy during the day, they can take advantage of that time. And we feed our players dinner every night too, in our facility before they take off. So once they leave the rink, the night is kind of theirs for homework and, opportunity to hang out with friends or watch Netflix, watch an NHL game, whatever they want to do. That the evening's kind of theirs at their point.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Do you guys have tutors or people that monitors or?
We have both, so yeah, there's gonna be people all along the way to make sure that their academic journey, if you will, goes smoothly. Obviously, it's important for the school, and it's important that the kids take care of business there. Just to give you an example, our team GPA last semester was 3.53, so it was well above the student average. And it's kind of funny, our guys in the spring, when the season's over, they have usually about 3 or 4 weeks left where they have workouts, but they don't have practice and things like that. And they're like, gosh, what do I do with all this time? Because it's so regimented, their week from basically from September to early April. So it's great to have.
Yeah, there's a lot of resources to help, and we're both at relatively smaller schools too. We're 4,000 students at Clarkson, so a lot of our players are in class together with each other too. And so that helps a lot too in navigating things academically.
How secure are these scholarships, say based on injury or some tragic happens, whatever, kids out for a year or longer? How secure is this educational component?
Yeah, I would say the injury is different than you see some different things happen with verbal equipment, I would say, in college hockey today. But the injury side of things, if you get injured, the school typically honors that scholarship if it's a career-ending injury.
And by rule, they have to be. And it's very likely, I would say, in the next 90 days, it'll be announced that they have to take care of the medical bills for every Division I student athlete 5 years after they're in.
Once you sign an NLI, a National Letter of Intent, which you can do starting in November of your grade 12 year, and any time after that, you're able to sign. That also protects you from injury as well, and locks in that scholarship with that specific school.
So if your players junior A someplace, God forbid something happens, you're still good.
Yes.
Like Neil Doof as an example, right?
Sorry?
Neil Doof is a good example of this. Like Princeton, he's playing a Canadian World U18 champion. Junior used to play for football there. At night, watch some play and still
Yeah, honorary scholarship. Yeah, I would say, I don't know the story specifically, it's awful. But I'm sure Princeton will do honorary scholarship.
What about coverage for healthcare? If comparing again, what is that like for our?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our roster, we're about 2/3 Canadian. Of those 25 players, 2/3 of them are Canadian. A lot of them from Greater Ottawa, Greater Toronto areas, Greater Montreal areas. So as an international student at Clarkson, you have to get health insurance through the school. So that's actually covered though by the athletic scholarship. So that's not at a cost to our players. And any type of athletic-related injury, it gets billed to that student insurance, and then whatever's not covered is paid for by Clarkson University. So any type of athletic-related injury for any of our players is going to be covered by then first insurance, and then by the university. And as an international student, all of our players that are international are required to have insurance through the school.
Does that also apply to like, if they get strep throat and need antibiotics and that kind of thing?
Yeah,
Like
so
non-athletic,
great question too. A lot of schools have physicians that work with the team. We have a physician's assistant that's at our practices multiple times a week and have an exam room right in the training room. So he's able to take care of some of those simple things that may come up. If it's a situation where it has to go to urgent care or anything like that, then it's done through the student's insurance in the university.
Time for a couple more if we have. Yeah.
If a player is drafted quite high in the OHL rankings, but decides not to go, is there does hockey, College Hockey Inc., for instance, do they help with guidance on where might be a better place to play other than the OHL during the time of trying to get into the NCAA?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I work with families every single day, so I work with OHL draft picks every single day. Now I'm not going to say, hey, go to this coach, go to this team, but I can provide you advice on what I see, what the numbers show, what players know in those situations that they go and play the OJ. Now with the new rules out west with the BCHL, maybe the players start to do that. I'm not sure what's going to happen. But yeah, I can definitely field those calls and we have those conversations for sure.
Take one more.
All right, well, I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Everybody who did register for the event will receive communications from me with the slide deck as well as some links to some different information. And feel free, like I said, we're 100% free 100% of the time. If you have questions about this stuff, reach out to me. I'm happy to help. That's what we're funded to do. So I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.